them too.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming out. This last minute change in venue. I'm Bill Snowden, the editor of the Wakulla Sun. I just want to explain first the rules of the forum. First off, each candidate will get 2 minutes to introduce themselves, tell you why they're running, who they are, and then we're going to go to questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. We're going to go back and forth between who goes first. And then when we get to the end, each will have 2 minutes to do a closing. So we can get started. Mr. Kemp, do you want to begin with the introduction? Tell us about yourself.
I'll let her go first.
Okay. Ms. Russell, you want to go first?
Sure. Just turn this on.
Yes.
Hello.
Don't get a green light.
Thank you. I would like to first thank Bill with the Sun and all those attending here in person and all those at home for allowing me to have the opportunity to discuss my candidacy and highlight some of the differences between Mike and myself. I've been married for 28 years and we have 2 adult daughters. I'm a local nurse practitioner and I work with TMH in Crawfordville. And previously I worked for Dr. David Keene in Crawfordville. I'm the only candidate that has worked my entire career in private industry. I also am a small business owner and I have learned to budget properly, live within my means, and not depend on anyone or taxpayers for my personal well-being. I'm also the only candidate that has been a lifelong Republican. Currently, I am the Republican State Committeewoman for Wakulla County. Mike has basically put on social media that trust the one, I think it was, re-elect the one you can trust, implying I'm not trustworthy. So maybe you can explain to us and myself and our fellow taxpayers why during your first year you had the largest, and you voted for the largest increase in Wakulla County's history. And then our taxes stayed elevated until miraculously we were able to come up with a time to find a way to cut our taxes. Maybe also explain how your net worth went from a little over $100,000 your first year to over $500,000. I just want you to know I look forward to work hard and not forget I work for you, the taxpayers, and Wakulla County residents need to go first. I will assure that you have all voices will be heard. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Mike Kemp. I am a 5th generation from Wakulla County. Got 3 kids, Amanda, Jessica, and Kate, 2 granddaughters, Ellie and Braylon. Spent my whole adult life working here in Wakulla County. Started after high school. I went into the Army National Guard. After the Guard, I started with the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office, where I spent 28 years working anywhere from a dispatcher, correction officer, sergeant, lieutenant, investigator, SWAT operator, all the way up to my last few years as the major of law enforcement. I love this community. I could win Powerball tomorrow and I live right here in Wakulla County. I wouldn't change anywhere else. I know that she brought up a few things that I will address. You know, we did do a tax cut for the 7.9. We had some growth. We went down. It was set for 8.25. We went down to 7.9. And the reason we did that was to cut. But you know what my opponent doesn't realize? We set the millage rate. We don't set taxable values. A property appraiser does that. And out of this budget, $15.6 million, I know a lot of people don't realize, that's for public safety. 95% of your tax dollars for property tax goes to public safety. That is the government's #1 responsibility, is public safety, and that's where that goes to. 20 deputies we've added, or 16 deputies, we're gonna add 4 more, a new fire engine, 12 firefighters, paramedics, and I can go on and on. She talks about, I'll let the questions go, then I'll finish with my closing statement.
Okay, going to the questions then. Surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, the county commission race was the #1 area that we got questions from. And as you might imagine, most of the questions were about growth. Okay, starting with one, it's been said by one county official that housing is Wakulla County's main industry. How will you balance residential development with the preservation of our county's character and natural resources? Mr. Kemp, you're first.
A lot of people don't realize over 70% of our county's national forest or refuge, which is protected property. Another 13% of our county is undevelopable because of lakes, ponds, swamps, and stuff like that. So you're only looking at about a 20% growth. Back in 2012, the citizens of Wakulla County, not a county commissioner, the citizens of Wakulla County developed the town plan of how they wanted this county to grow. When you talk about growth, I just listened to the governor the other day at the church conference. An average of 1,300 to 1,700 people a day are moving to Florida. You're not going to stop growth. We just have to embrace it. You know, I met some amazing people here, that have moved here, and not like me, that is a 5th generation. But let me tell you something. People don't understand. You like freedom, you want freedom, but you want county commissioners to take away people's freedom. Freedom to sell their property, freedom to buy their property, freedom to move here, freedom to build a business here. And, you know, we are very blessed because 80% of our county will never be developed. And we're very blessed for that. So, you know, legislator manage the laws about growth. You got a pro-growth governor, pro-growth legislator, pro-growth senate. We have rules, regulations that we have to follow. And if you can take all 5 of us out tomorrow and put 5 brand new people here, if you believe in property rights, you believe in the law, you follow the rules and regulations, it's going to be the same. We're just blessed that 80% of our county will never be developed. And again, Wakulla Bank was built over 40 years ago. And when Mr. Gavey and Bill Forsage and all them built that bank, they said they knew they built that bank because growth was coming. And it's here. Unfortunately, we just got to make sure that we're following the rules, regulations that is placed in by the law. And that's what we do.
Ms. Russell?
I do. I believe that growth is inevitable, but I feel like the last 4 years we've had a substantial increase in growth, and that's probably the biggest complaint I've heard as far as running for commissioner. But I understand that there are rules once you have a zoning change or what have you, but I feel like every comp plan amendment doesn't have to necessarily be passed. There are ways that we can slow the growth down. Obviously, when you have a zoning change in your legality, you can't. But how do we stop that? How can we maybe change the laws, maybe ordinances? Granted, yes, I think it was like 28% of the county cannot be developed. It can only be developed because of, like Mike said, land and water, refuge. But you know, sometimes the government, they sell refuge. I'm just saying, they have in other places in Florida. But there just needs to be a way that we can balance property rights and make sure our environment is also safe. There's got to be some way. I feel like growth is inevitable. We all know that. We all love this community, but we also need to realize it does impact the rest of us who have lived here for a long time.
Okay, Ms. Russell, we'll start with you on this question. It, again, is growth related. A lot of citizens view the growth and economic development as negative, impacting the natural environment and the ability of longtime residents to afford housing. Since the county commission has the ultimate control over planning and zoning decisions, what steps would you take to develop a long-term growth plan for Wakulla County that protects citizens and the natural environment from overdevelopment?
Well, like I was saying, some ways are possibly the planning and zoning committee, they're made up of citizens, and so they do give recommendations. And maybe, you know, when it comes back to the board, maybe you make it a super majority, you know? Right now, it's about 3 out of 5 have to say yes, but maybe make it a super majority vote to pass something. We still have to find that perfect balance where we're not affecting the environment and we have positive growth. Not, to me, just by my office, I feel like it's just thrown together. There's no plan. I know there's probably more to that, but I'm just saying, looking from the outside in, how can we come up with ways to not impact our resources? A lot of people have said impact fees. Maybe that's something we can look at. Impact fee studies will actually say if the development is affecting our infrastructure and how do we change that.
Okay.
As I said earlier, you know, we talk about growth. In the last 10 years, we've had 10% growth except for the last couple of years, which has been 1.9. Somebody said the other day that we have built 10,000 new homes in the last few years. Fact check it, we've not built 10,000 homes in 28 years. So that is a misconception. And, you know, we talk about where we're at with growth and stuff like that. Look, my daddy told me this right here. He said, when I ran for county commissioner, he said, son, you remember one thing. When you leave that house, you leave those personal feelings at the house and you vote for what's right. And that's exactly what I've done. The things that she's talking about, she needs to be running for legislator or the House, not for county commissioner, because we are guided by laws, rules, and regulations that control that. I mean, personally, if it was up to me, now personally, on a personal basis, we wouldn't build another house in Wakulla County. But that's my personal feelings. But if you believe, again, you can change all 5 of us out tomorrow. I can promise you, if she gets elected or whatever, she's not going to vote no different than I vote. I know that. Because she's going to follow the laws, rules, and regulations that are put in place. And if she wants to change those, then she needs to run for legislator, not for county commissioner. That's where it starts. Again, 1,300 to 1,700 people a day are moving to Florida, and people love our county. I know, I love it. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. And you know something, we do look at, the state of Florida spends $3 billion a year protecting our environment. So when a person comes up for, you know, things that has to be developed, there's a checklist that they have to meet. It goes in front of a citizens board. One of our board members is right here, that they look at it and approve, make sure that we are meeting all the guidelines, and then it comes before us, a vote. And most of our votes are 4-1 or 5-0. Usually if it's a 5-0, it's in our town plan, because Chuck leads in our town plan. So thank you.
This question starts with Mr. Kemp. What is the overarching goal for your term in office for the next 4 years? What would be your what's the main thing you want to achieve?
Well, when I first ran for office, one of the things I wanted to make sure that was happening, that we are doing everything we're supposed to do for the best of Wakulla County. Again, there's rules, laws, and regulations that we have to follow. And everybody knows my background is public safety, military and public safety. When I left that sheriff's office as a major of law enforcement, deputies were making $30,500. They're making $44,500 or $45,000 now, okay? I made sure that whatever the budget was not going to be signed if our law enforcement and firefighters were taken care of. We've added 16 more deputies, fixing to add 4 more. We did a whole nother engine. We've added 12 firefighters and paramedics, and we're fixing to add another ambulance, you know. And again, growth is coming whether we like it or not. I cannot like it all I want, but we got to do what's right. And I know in my heart what I've done is right. It doesn't mean I have to agree with everything. Some of the things that you vote on, you try to find a reason not to vote on it. However, if you believe in the laws, rules, and regulations, change it. She needs to be running for legislator, or I need to be running legislator, and let's change that. But as county commissioners, you know, we got a set of rules we follow. Planning and zoning, they do the same thing. They look at all the rules and regulations, and there's a checklist. If it don't meet that criteria, it doesn't get developed. And let's talk about Magnolia Gardens and also Wakulla Gardens. If you look at that, those are 60 years old. Anybody in this right now can go buy 10 lots and build 10 houses, and it don't even become before the county commissioners. You can pull a permit and build a house. People don't understand that. They used to give those lots away 60 years ago at a fair. And, you know, thank you.
Ms. Russell?
Can you repeat the question, please?
I think I can. What's the overarching goal for your term in office? What would be the primary thing you would want to achieve?
First of all, First of all, there's a few things that I would like to achieve. Number one, I feel like we need to create more jobs in this community. Our children and grandchildren have no place to go where they can support their family. So we need to try to find that balance, like I said, to protect our environment and also property rights. I do know that we both discussed this last election that, impact fee study is something that the taxpayers want to do. That's how, you were a proponent for it last time. I don't know, I know I haven't received any campaign contributions from any development-related businesses or developers. I have no affiliation with developers. So it's not that, maybe we're a little bit more, maybe you need to think about that. Maybe people look at that like, you know what, maybe you keep voting for everything. Yes, I understand there are rules and regulations, and no, I don't want to be a legislator, but I do know that you can get with the legislators and change the laws if that's what people want. But an impact fee study, I'm a proponent for it. If we do it, it gives us the facts. All the data will be there, how it affects the infrastructure.
Can I respond to impact fees?
Another thing is, we need to cut taxes. There are ways to cut taxes. Sorry, was my 10 seconds up? I apologize. Now,
27.
Anyway, I would love to find our public service taxes, that's electricity, water, and electricity. That was raised from 22 to 24, 25%. Our sewage tax, that has gone up 10% while you're in
10
office.
seconds.
So there are residents that are having trouble putting food on their table. We need to really look at cutting some taxes like we do in our household. There's always a way to look at the budget and revamp it. Thanks.
Okay, then the next question actually ties into you wanted to respond to and what you brought up. There's a referendum in November to add to the county charter a requirement for periodic impact fee studies by the county commission. What's your position on impact fees?
When I first got elected, I brought up impact fees 3 times until I understood them. Listen to me, if people want an impact fee and we vote on it, which is gonna be on the ballot, and the majority of people want an impact fee, we'll do it. But everybody needs to understand, people that are buying a house today are paying more in taxes than you or me that's on houses here. So everybody in here that has kids, if you go build a house, if you sell your house, and you go build a house or your child builds a house, you're going to pay that impact fee too. However, if the public wants impact fees, it's going to be on the ballot, they vote for it, then I'm for it. I brought it up 3 times. It's not, I'm against it, I'm for it. But is it also another tax? And let's talk about a tax break. She talks about a tax break. Who you want to fire? You want to cut the rec part? You want to cut the library? Part of being the taxes, you have got to look at the overall. She's not been at the first budget meeting. She's not been at the first county meeting, and I have been for the last 4 years. So you can sit up there and say, I'm cut taxes. You cut them, but you're gonna fire somebody, you're gonna let somebody off, you're gonna start with the library, or you're gonna start with the rec part. And I'm not for cutting either one of those. We are one of 29 financially restrained counties, and I don't know if people understand that. That means if you go up one millage rate, it's less than $5 million. So yes, nobody wants to pay taxes. I don't want to pay taxes, but if you talk about cutting taxes, you're going to start laying on people or doing that. But you're not going to do without first responders. The government's sole responsibility is public safety. Ask any county commissioners out of 67 counties. And we are 58 out of 67 counties of lowest taxes in the state of Florida. I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Ms. Walker?
But what about all the fees?
I can address the fees real quick. The fees have a built-in CPI, just to let it know, consumer pricing index. Sewer is going up probably about $8 this year, but she's not gonna change that if she gets in office. We're one of 5 votes. That CPI passed by 5 people, 1 Democrat and 4 Republicans. It is a built-in CPI, which is consumer pricing index. Garbage fee didn't go up this last year, and it's not going up again this year, just to let you know.
Ms. Russell?
The impact fees, is that what we were discussing? Sorry. So impact fees, I think, like I said, the impact fee study is something we need to do. Like you said, yes, the voters need to vote on it, but that's what taxpayers want. It's data. It will answer the question if it affects our infrastructure or not. Also, I wasn't at any of those meetings because they're at 3 o'clock. Maybe we need to have meetings that are a little bit more later on where people can attend them. I mean, 3 o'clock, most people work in Tallahassee or picking their children up from school. So maybe if you made those meetings a little bit easier for the rest of the residents to attend, you would have more participation, just like the county commission meetings. Those are 5 o'clock. You can at least try to maybe 1 or 2 a month have it at a regular time where people could actually attend and give their opinion, because we do, as commissioners, you do work for the taxpayers. And I have a great idea. How about we sell that first piece of land that you requested we buy, Jerry Moore, $500,000 during your first 3 months. That would go a long ways. We wouldn't have to cut people's jobs. There's ways you can look in that budget to decrease anything. We can do that at home. So no, I'm not going to sit up here and say that I'm going to cut somebody's job, but I think selling Jerry Moore's property for $500,000 would be a start, because we're not doing anything with that. So like I said, you can look at your household income, budget your money, and find ways to cut without impacting other people's jobs. So that's all I have to say on that one.
Okay, Ms. Russell, you go first this time. Reader submitted the question, contending dramatic county property value increases warrant a corresponding reduction in tax millage. Explain why millage rates can or can't be reduced.
Well, looking at the millage rate, so it was, I think, 2020 when he was first became elected. Millage rate was then 8.0. So it went from 8.0, and then he voted for the largest increase to 8.4. Then it stayed 8.2, 8.2, and then miraculously, like I said, re-election was coming up. We found means to decrease it to 7.9. But if you look at the graph, the ad valorem revenue increased every year. So honestly, we could have had a decreased millage rate 3 years ago, because the revenue increased over time, over the years, because we've had so much growth, so many homes. So we had a lot of tax revenue, and that continued to increase over the last 4 years.
It's never been 8.4, it's 8.25.
It was 8.4, and you voted.
It was
8.0, and you voted for it to be 8.4.
It went 8.25. So
8.4, 8.2, 8.2.
8.2. However, the thing about it is, we went down to 7.9. We had a growth, so we were able to give a tax break. We also went this year. We stayed the same because we had 11% growth. When you again, most of your property taxes goes to fund first responders, the fire department, the sheriff's office. That's where your funding is going to. Again, we're one of 29 financial restrained counties. Our budget this year is 274 million, I think off the top of my head. A lot of that, what people don't understand, is from grants and funding that we get. Nobody likes paying taxes. And listen to me, she made a comment that actually comes from Ronald Reagan: are you better off now when you're 4 years? Well, don't blame county commissioners because of what Washington's doing. Washington is spending trillions and trillions of dollars and putting us more and more in debt, but that's not county commissioners. We're doing everything possible, and one of the things as county commissioners, I made a promise. I never said I was going to cut taxes. I never said I was going to raise taxes. I said I will be financially responsible with taxpayer dollars, and that's why we do. That's again why you have 4 Republicans on that board and 1 Democrat voting for the budget, and that's how it passes. Again, we're 58 out of 67 counties of lowest taxes, and we're growing, y'all. Again, we're fortunately, this year we had 11.8% growth. So we are growing every year, but again, for 10 years, we only grew 1%. That was it. The last few years, we have grown a little bit better.
Those lowest taxes that he's discussing, that's not county commission, it's also school, everything else. It's not something just the county commission. The lowest 10%, that applies to all the taxes across the board, not just what the county commission is responsible for. Also school.
Okay. The next area, we had a couple of questions about, based on youth and general population increases, what wellness and recreation facilities would you propose for the upcoming years?
Well, I know everybody's talking about a pool and a splash pad. I think both would be great if we find it and we can afford it. Other than, I know everybody wants a bowling alley and everybody wants all these things. Well, we don't have control. We don't have control of that. We are looking at grants for a splash pad. We are looking at grants for that, but that's fine. We get those grants to get a splash pad or a pool, which is what people obviously are talking about a lot. You still got to pay. We got to pay for that every single year after that grant. I'm not against it. If we can find a way to get a grant and support it, I'm all for it. There's nothing wrong with a pool or a splash pad, but you know something? We got Wakulla River, we got St. Mark's River, we got our beaches, we got Wakulla Springs, we got all these lakes and ponds that I grew up, Cherokee, St. all these places that we got. I think anything that we can do for the youth, I think we need a bigger rec park. That is one of my next 4 goals, to really work on the rec park. We are looking at that, trying to find funding for that. Hopefully, soccer outweighs everything right now, but I think one of the things we need to do, we need to start having tournaments here, softball tournament, baseball tournaments. Those are things that we're missing out on a whole for our county. Thomasville does it, Alabama does it. I know I coach girls traveling softball for almost 10 years, Panama City. So those are a lot of things that we can bring into our county, and also that would also help us economically.
Okay, Ms. Russell?
Yes, well, for our youth, first of all, 4-H has done a great job. There's lots of camps and activities. Some parents cannot afford even rec park, and rec park's reasonable. So we need to push and, continue to support 4-H. I mean, I'm a Rotarian. We also have camps and things for children. So our local civic clubs. But, my children never participated in the rec club, rec park. But, that is something we need to really expand. I mean, you want to keep your youth occupied. There's not much to do. Yes, we do have rivers and beaches and all that, but the rec park is a great thing. Sports are great. It teaches you how to interact with others, learning how to win, learning how to lose, learning how to work at a job someday. There's lots of positives for recreational parks. So I think we need to really push, whether it's a grant, cutting taxes, what have you, that's something that we need to do for our youth, because we don't have enough things for them here. Like Tallahassee, they have Charlie Ward's doing he's opening up that new complex. That would be great if that's something we could do, because it brings in lots of revenue with teams coming from all over the place, like you said, having more team sports competitions. But You know, also, just making sure, the splash pad to me is something that's more economical than a pool. Pools are hard, there's lots of liability, those are hard to come up with, so I feel like that splash pad is something I suggested last time I ran as well. It's just easier. We have the beaches for the pool. And it is a lot of responsibility, and it costs a lot of money and a lot of liability, so. But other than that, I think we need to just work with what we have and continue to grow, continue to help with the rec park, and do whatever we can for our youth. That's it.
Okay, Ms. Russell, we'll start. And this question may be something of a follow-up to the previous one. When the county bought the community center, where we are currently, it was promoted as a place where various activities would take place during the school year and during the summer months. And at one point, it was the one-stop shop was here with programs until that grant ended. And a reader submitted the question, what about expanding the offering of youth programs at the community center?
So what was the last part, I'm sorry?
What about expanding the offering of youth programs for youths here at the community center?
Absolutely. That was a great idea we had back in the day. I thought for after-school care, it was for everybody in the county, not just certain people. I know there was issues with getting kids to and from here, but this is a building we purchased, I forget how long ago, probably my children were in 2nd and 3rd grade, so maybe 2008-ish, I can't remember the exact years, but the church that runs here is also very profitable, but I think that would be a great idea. This is a great facility that we can expand upon. We have the basketball, the pickleball courts, all of that. There's just lots of things that we could do. Hold more camps here. I think that's a great idea. Our youth are important. That's something we need to look at. If it's something we can do, looking at the budget, then I think that's something we should push for.
Mr. Kemp?
I actually agree with Valerie 100%. I think we always need to add more things to our community for our youth. The rec park needs expanding. We are looking at expanding. Soccer it used to be baseball and softball, girls softball. Girls softball is kind of getting ahead of boys baseball, and soccer is really taking over. So anything that we can add to here, I know we got pickleball, I know we got cornhole, I know there's basketball, so there's different programs that are offered here. Obviously, we need to find a way to fund that for it, which is something that I will definitely be doing. My next 4 years is really working on the rec park, keeping up with public safety, but the rec park is really something that I want to concentrate on, making sure that we can get those fees down, making sure that we can also expand the rec park, have nothing but soccer fields, baseball fields, softball. But it takes a lot of funding. I would love to have something like Frank Bound Park in Panama City. Well, that's about $95 million they got invested in that, but that's obviously not going to happen here, but it would be nice to have here. And the more we can do at the rec park for our children, I'm all for it, 100%.
Okay. Mr. King, we'll start with you with this question. Both of you have careers outside of the seat you're seeking on the county commission. How do you balance your work with your responsibilities as a commissioner?
From about 6:30 in the morning to about 11:30, 12 o'clock at midnight. My girlfriend's sitting in the parking lot, refuses to even go to Walmart or anywhere with me. I get 35, 40 calls a day. I'm a law enforcement liaison. I cover 18 counties. I cover from Madison County to Pensacola, work from home, and I travel. I work with all the sheriffs, on mobile response. I work for Northwest Florida Health Network. So I'm very blessed to be able to do this job on both hands. I take a lot of calls in between going back and forth when I'm traveling. I'm here, Teams meeting and stuff like that really change things. But if you noticed on Facebook, and obviously I'm a big Facebook person, I am tagged in every single thing that goes on in this county. And there ain't a person can sit there and say, I'll never respond, or don't call them, or follow up. If I can't do it, I find somebody that can. And you don't believe me, look at Facebook every day, and I get 30 to 40 calls every day for something, from trash to roads to law enforcement questions, you name it, I get it. And there's not a person says I have not returned their phone call and been there for them. And listen to me, it don't take me being a county commissioner to do that. I'm gonna do it. I've done it my whole life, and I'm gonna continue to do it, whether I'm a commissioner or not. I love this community, I love its people. We can sit up here to agree or to disagree, but she can call me tonight and need something, and I'll take care of it for her just like I would anybody else in this audience. That's what I do. You're either a public servant or not, and I've spent my whole adult life serving my community, and I will continue to do that.
Yes, I do have a full-time job, but I'm also a healthcare professional. I am a public servant. I have been my entire career. When my children were little, I worked full-time, went to school full-time. My kids were 2, 3, and 4 years old. My husband traveled 80% of the time, had no family around, and I was capable of accomplishing all of those things, 110%. My patients see me all over the community. I do whatever I can. It doesn't matter. I did this before I was even thinking about running for county commissioner, but I am also extremely approachable. I love my community. I love my patients. I'll do whatever it takes. They're like family to me. So I can manage. I'll be able to juggle my time. I will always give my 110%. I always put people first before myself. That's just the way I do things. I've been that way my whole life. I would hold Mike too if he needed me. We were campaigning last time. He was complaining to something across the street. I went over and assessed him. That's just what I do.
She did.
So,
Told me what's wrong with me.
so it's something I'm passionate about. And I can do it. I can balance everything, and it's okay. I will return your calls. I do that with my patients. I might forget, but I'm going to end up returning your phone calls or your emails. It just takes time and priorities. Whichever phone calls actually takes more priority than others. My job as a healthcare professional, that's a big deal, and it is as a county commissioner as well. So.
Next question. We're starting with Ms. Russell. With a proposed charter change to preserve certain native trees on residential property, do you support that change?
I feel like the environment, we all love the environment. Trees are very important. Trees are important for water, air, pollution, everything. It also, to me, makes our property look nicer. If it's the native trees, yeah, I feel like we should keep those. I feel like we don't have a lot of those. Growing up in South Florida, the only native trees I remember are palm trees and pine trees. The biggest thing I loved about this area are the beautiful oak trees. They're huge, they're gorgeous. But if you develop a community, why wouldn't you want it to make it more admirable? Make it where somebody would want to live. Make our county look better. So I think we need to keep our trees. Now, obviously, when someone when they purchase a house, that's their property. We can't tell them they can't cut their trees down. Certain ones, obviously, the native ones, pine trees or whatever. But trees are important. There's a lot of beauty added to that. It makes our county gorgeous, besides our beautiful water and beaches. So I think we should respect our trees and everything else, as long as it doesn't impede on other things.
We actually just had a workshop probably about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, about a tree ordinance that we're trying to come up to. And I think all the commissioners have agreed for 5%. We're guided by some rules and laws that are set in legislative. However, we are trying to do something. Personally, the more trees, the better. I like them. If you look at my subdivision, I live in the Hammock subdivision. Behind me, most every single tree was cut. Now the third phase of the Songbird is being developed, which, by the way, has been approved for over 20 years. There's still trees there also. I know a lot of people are talking about some of the places that our house is being built, but you got to remember Rakers Field, where Summerlin and Chadwick's and all that. Those were pine trees. Most of it was a field when Miss Raker died. So, and again, that was done before. As I was running, all that was approved to get developed. If you look at Raywinkle Road down there, that old hayfield is nothing but being houses built now. So, again, if we can save the more trees in the developer, and we're talking about offer incentives to our developers for them. Right now, they can go in there and clear cut it. I don't like it. I don't think anybody likes it. But you know something, again, if we can leave some trees, it'll be great. Now, I'm not for anybody having to pull a permit to cut a tree. If you own the property and you got 4 or 5 trees you want to cut, then that's your property, you should be able to cut it. You don't need to be asking for a permit. Yeah, obviously, you know, the more trees that we can have, but again, over 80% of our county is national forest and refuge. You know, so we do have a lot of trees and you know, that will never be cut unless the federal government decides to sell it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kemp, we'll start with you with this question. What specific plans do you have to attract new businesses and industries to Wakulla County?
Well, you know, we have been talking to a lot of different businesses. I know that everybody wants no more fast food restaurants, but this is what, you know, people don't understand. If you own 10 pieces of commercial property in Crawfordville and you're a diehard pizza lover, you can build 10 Pizza Huts on there and it doesn't come for us. So, you know, who wouldn't want, people talk about a Lowe's. I'll be honest with you, I'm not for Lowe's, and I'll tell you the reason why. Why do I want to hurt Gulf Coast Lumber? Why do I want to hurt Ace Hardware? You know, or, you know, in Crawfordville. So if anybody or mom, and the days of mom and pops, and this is so sad because I see it everywhere I go, they just can't afford to do the mom and pops anymore, and that is sad. However, you know, if we can get somebody to come in here, unfortunately, we're not close to a railroad. Unfortunately, we're 27, 28 miles south of I-10. There are some things that's coming to Opportunity Park that is going to be looked at. Be honest with you, I'm not allowed to say it until it comes out at their request. So there's a lot of things that are coming. If it comes, it's going to bring a lot of jobs to Wakulla County. And, you know, just like Valerie said a while ago, hey, the more we can get people here to have businesses here for our kids to have it, but listen to me, people's talking about growth. I'm not about growth. No, Publix didn't come till they seen it was a benefit for Publix. Lowe's or any of these other big businesses are not going to come until they're customers. Who are customers? People that are moving here.
Okay, Ms. Russell?
Like I said before, we need to try to incentivize businesses to come here because our kids and grandkids need jobs, good jobs, not just fast food jobs, jobs like CSG. That's a clean industry, little packed on the environment. It's over there in Opportunity Park. We have 240 acres that's owned by a private entity, NG Wade, and I'm actually the only candidate that gives money annually for the economic, the EDC. We need something that, like I said, clean, something like CSG where we can attract, we don't have industry here, we don't have industry, we're not near a railroad like you said, a small port, but an interstate is far away, 12 miles, that's a big deal with traffic. But we need to come up with ways to attract businesses. Back in 2022, I think citizens voted no to kind of give an ad valorem, exemption for our businesses. And I feel like maybe we can bring that back to the voters because I don't think we explained it very well. I think people were just so upset about growth and thinking it was going to benefit the developers when actually it would give more of an incentive for businesses to come here. So we can create more jobs for our children and our grandchildren. So maybe we can bring that back to the voters. But the Economic Development Council here in the county, we have 2 employees that they market and try to incentivize businesses to come here. So that's just something that we need to really push and try to help get people here.
And they're working hard to do that. They really are. We're very blessed to have the 2 we have, and they're working nonstop to do that.
Okay. Last question, infrastructure and transportation. Starting with Ms. Russell, how do you plan to address the infrastructure needs of Wakulla County, including road maintenance, public transportation, and utilities? And what are your priorities for improving transportation in the county?
Unfortunately, a lot of our roads here in Wakulla County are state-owned. So everybody's complaining about Crawfordville Highway. DOT has been a little behind on that, but that's where we need to really work with some of our legislators. No, I don't want to be one, but work with them and push, maybe push some fines out there, push them to complete a project. If it hasn't been completed on time, then we need to really give them some heat. Not just say, okay, it's a DOT thing. Really try to push why our 319 is still not completed. I understand there's other priorities, but I feel like we need to really work with the legislators to try to push to help that. As far as our water in Talquin and Sopchop, ever since I've lived here, we've had issues with our water. So we need to, I know we've heard in the past that's a Talquin thing or a Sopchoppy thing. Well, water is infrastructure, and as commissioners, we need to be the ones pushing and making sure things are going okay, not making the consumers call and call and call like we had to do. So we need to be more, advocates, and just remember, we work for the community, we work for the taxpayers, and we need to be the ones to be advocates for that and help with our infrastructure.
In the last 5 years, we have spent over 300, by the time we get into this year, $303 million in infrastructure for Wakulla County. A lot of people don't see that, but we have. That is through state funding, through local funding, 1 cent sales tax. When we talk about 319, we've met with DOT. I've talked to DOT 7, 8 times. I know other commissioners have done the same thing. So that road's been on the books since 1994. And, unfortunately, it's not going to get done. Hopefully it's done by this year. We keep pushing on it. I've talked to Corey Simon. I've talked to Jason Shuff. I've talked to the DOT director. I've talked to everybody that we can. We've had discussions with it. They just sent us an update the other day. People talk about we don't have the infrastructure. Well, I'm going to show you, it's the best way to explain it, but I'm going to do it with my hands. You don't build a super sewer system for 40,000 people, for 100,000 people. Number one, financially, you can't do it financially, but number two, it will not operate right. You don't build a super highway for 100,000 people when your population is 38,000 people. Now, the census was 36 something. I think that was a little bit off, but you got to remember, over 3,000 of that is Wakulla CI prisoners. So our population is probably about 38,000. That road right there during the week, 30% is not even local traffic. On the weekends, it's even worse, but it's at peak time of hours. So go talk to commissioners. I just came back from FAC, and they will all tell you, here's your growth, here's your infrastructure. It is always like that. If you just came back from Orlando, they're building all these highways and all that, and they're still far behind because of growth. So your infrastructure will always come last, but we're very blessed here.
Okay. Close. You have 2 minutes to close. Mr. Kemp.
I'll let her close. Ladies first.
I opened, you closed.
Okay. Look, I like Valerie. It's nothing personal against her. We both running for office. We're not running against each other. But, we're in trying times in our world right now, and you need a proven leader that has done just that. I have served my whole adult life to Wakulla County, from the military, from the National Guard to law enforcement to county commissioner. The reason I get tagged and everything on Facebook, because I get the job done. And I understand that you cannot please everybody. I get that. God himself cannot please everybody. So I know Mike Kemp can't do it. But I can tell you what I can do. I can get up every day, look at myself in the mirror, and know that I did the right thing. Now, you might not agree with it. You might not agree. You might not agree with it. But when we come up for a vote, we get our agenda 5 or 6 days ahead of time. I remember my first agenda, 1,193 pages. And I got that, and the very first I said, my God, what have I got myself into? And I read every single page just like I do now. And when I leave my house, I did what my daddy said. Leave those personal feelings at the house, and you go in there and vote for what's right. And we keep on talking about, I'm a big Facebook person. Everybody knows that. There's 26,000 registered voters in the county. Okay, so when you look at Facebook and you see the 30 or 40 people fussing, they got legitimate fusses, I get it. But that don't mean that the other 26,000, the silent majority, has that same thing. But I can tell you, or same idea, but I can tell you right now, there's not a call that I have not returned. I work my butt off from from 6 o'clock in the morning. I usually get up about 5:30, and I'm 11:30 before I go to bed at night, and I answer every call. I will always, always be there for you, no matter what. That's the reason I'm asking for your support in my re-election. I'm not done. I'm going to continue to work hard, and there's a lot to be accomplished. Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
Thank you again for hosting this forum. Thank you to everyone who's attended and all those watching at home. You can tell there are clear differences between Mike and myself. I am not a politician. I am not up here to gain no personal gain. I'm here to extend my personal love for this community. I do it every day at my job. I see the struggles people have, and I'm a public servant. I put others first. It doesn't matter if I got elected or not, I'm still going to continue doing what I'm doing for the county. I've spent my entire career in private industry. I'm a small business owner. I know how to budget properly. I live within my means, not depend on anyone or any type of taxpayers for any type of personal well-being. Most of my campaign contributions were from people locally here in the community, as much as they could afford, not from developers or developer-related businesses or anybody outside the county. I'm the only candidate that has no affiliation with any of the developers or developer-related business, and I never vacationed with them. I just want you to remember, during, like I said, I don't know if you heard this the first time, but during Mike's first year, he went from over $100,000 to over $500,000 during his entire term. I don't make that kind of money without working 3 jobs. So, I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense.
Retirement.
But like I said, thousands of patients trust me with their lives. You can trust that I'll be honest, open, and transparent to each of you. I'm compassionate. I'll do whatever it takes to work for the taxpayers, and I'll always remember they come first, and I work for them, not the other way around. And I'm just asking for your vote August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you both for coming out tonight and sharing your views. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you to the audience for coming out. Sorry about the last minute change. Couldn't do anything about it. Thanks again to Heather and Rachel for keeping everything straight. And have a good night. Grab some water and cookies on the way out. Thank you all.